Hey, good morning, Facebook family and friends, Northwoods family and friends, and everyone. Good to see you this morning. Hopefully, you'll get a chance to catch this small devotion in the dark this morning. Having to do it a little different. I'm on my way into work, but I got to clean my truck off as soon as I get to work, and so I'm not gonna have time to just kind of see it, but I wanted to just kind of hop on and share a devotion that the Lord was dealing with me on yesterday, and I was doing a little reading on it. I got called into work, and on the way home this morning, about 1 o'clock this morning, man, he just kind of just dropped a question in my spirit, and it said, "What if? What if?" And I had been studying on the prodigal son. And so many times we listen to the story of the prodigal son, and we talk about, we always focus the story, and rightfully so. It's an awesome story about the son leaving and going and spending all of his goods, and he took his father's inheritance, and he took everything that belonged to him, and he went out and he blew it. He threw it away on the world. And when he ran out, he found himself in the hog pen. We know the story. He remembered his father's home, and he went back just to be a servant. But his father welcomed him back as a son, as a resurrected son, and dressed him in a nice garment, put a ring on his finger, kissed him on his cheek, and threw a big party for him. And we move on with the story there. Maybe talk about the prodigal son brother a little bit. But my question is, as great as that story is, the what if remains. What if that guy what if he would have just took the time to truly think about his inheritance that his father had for him, and to weigh the options of running out into the world with it or staying at home with it. We know what happens when he chooses to run out into the world with it. What if he chooses to recognize the importance of his father's inheritance, and he stays and he works with his father and never leaves his father? We all love a good redemption story. That's why the prodigal son story is so good, because every one of us have been that prodigal son or daughter. But what if he never left? And the question that came to me was, what may have been going on around his father's house that made him so hungry and so passionate to hurry up, take his inheritance, and get as far away from his father's house as he possibly could? He wanted nothing to do with it. He didn't want birthday parties there. He didn't want holidays there. He didn't want to come home for a Sunday afternoon visit. He wanted to get his stuff and to be gone for good. So what if he would have stayed? What if he would have never needed that redemption story? And we know that we can't do the what ifs there with us, because from the fall of man in Genesis, we was born into a redemption story. Either you got it or you didn't. But anyhow, what if he didn't? And the reason I asked that is because now I'm finna make it a little bit more relevant, because we could what if everything in the Bible to death. What ifs will drive you insane if you let them. But I do think I'm onto something pretty good here. I've done this, I've been guilty of this, and I have heard and seen people do this all the time. And it seems to me that that so many people, I ain't gonna say everybody, but so many people have the mindset that when times get hard, whether they're at a church, whether they're doing a certain ministry, whether they are in a marriage, whether they are at a job, whether they are just in a friendship or relationship, things like that. We could go on and on and on with this, but as soon as things get hard, like when everything's going great, man, they are committed. Man, this is the place. We know God sent us here. We know God put us together. We know God wanted me to take this job. I knew God wanted me to start this business. I knew God wanted me to work in this church. And the moment that things are going great, man, they're fired up, they're ready. But as soon as conflict arises, as soon as some confusion rolls in, soon as some spiritual things that aren't of the Lord begin happening, Oh man, this is God showing me it's time to go. And we are so quick to take what little inheritance we've gained from that relationship or gained from that connection, or either God sent you there or God didn't. And we have to ask ourselves, was we wrong the first time, or are we wrong now? But so many of us want God's answer to be, oh, He's shifting me, He's moving me, oh, he's my season here's over, my season here's done, and my season, God doesn't want me in this marriage anymore, and God doesn't want me on this job anymore, God doesn't want us at this church anymore because there's troubles here and there's struggles here. And we start telling him, God's shifting me. Oh, I feel it. I know God's shifting me. I've been guilty of this. That's why I can say it. But I remember many times where I thought God was shifting me, but it was really the enemy was trying to sift me. Jesus told Peter, he said, Satan desires to have you that he may sift you as wheat. In other words, he's coming after you. He's fixing to try to make you give up. And guess what he's going to use against you? He's going to use the fact that you're afraid to die. That you're afraid, after seeing how I'm going to be punished, you're afraid to die like that. And he's going to use that against you. He's going to use your weaknesses. He's going to use your past. He says, Satan has desired to have you that he might sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for you that your faith fail not. And when you are converted, strengthen your brother. In other words, Jesus said, I'm not shifting you, Peter. Satan is fixing to apply some pressure on you. Satan is going to try to move you from where I've brought you. Satan is going to try to shift you because he's going to put people against you. He's going to put people against you. He's going to make people aggravate you. He's going to make people frustrate you. He's going to make people put you down. But guess what? I'm not shifting you out of what I brought you. I didn't bring you here just for you to think you was shifted out. We got to understand, we're not a transmission, and God's not driving in a Daytona 500. God's not shifting us over and over, day and day and day and day. He shifted us from lost to salvation, and everything from this day forward is a journey. We have got to get away from this, oh, it's my season's up, my season's over. Man, we change seasons more than the world changes seasons, and it does it 4 times a year, every year. And if you're in South Georgia, it does it 4 times a day. So, we have to be very careful that the enemy sifting us, we're not mistaking that and saying, oh, God's shifting us. We've got folks that do round robin church visits. They're here today, gone tomorrow. They're like the wind. They're like a dust bunny in the wind. And it's because God is always shifting them. He can't make up his mind where he wants them. I thought I needed you over here, but I guess I'm going to need you over. I promise you God is more organized than that. I promise you God. He's not going to have you married 15 times because he's shifting you. He's not going to have you quitting your job every week and starting over somewhere new because he's shifting you. We've got to recognize that Jesus is not always shifting us. Sometimes he's praying for us in the process so that we'll stand, and when it's over, we'll be converted to something greater. Aren't you glad that David didn't look at Goliath and say, oh, God's shifting me. I'm not supposed to be in Israel anymore. No, I'm thankful for a Christian that had a backbone that said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine that defiles the armies of God? I'm glad Daniel didn't think God was shifting him, even though he wasn't even in Israel. He was still spiritually in Israel, and he was in Babylonian captivity. And he said, I'm going to pray if I got to go to the lion's den. He didn't say, oh, God's shifting me. No, he stayed in the process. He stayed the course. Paul even said it. He said, I have stayed the course. God didn't shift me off my race every day. Shifting. Sometimes God will shift our image. Sometimes God will shift our vision when we get out of line. Sometimes God will shift us. But usually the shifting comes because we've made a decision to get out of the will of God. And we need a shifting. But God doesn't just stand up there and shift gears like an 18-wheeler. He puts us on a course, and he says, stay the course. Finish the race. How am I going to keep my eyes on the mark of the high prize if at the end of my race keeps changing? God has placed something in your heart. He has placed you in a place. He has placed you for a ministry. He has placed you, if you're married, fight for what you got. Stay where you. Stop letting people get under your skin and make you think that it's time for you to run off and go start somewhere new. Because guess what? It ain't but a matter of time. God loves you, but everybody don't. And there's gonna be somebody that's gonna get under your skin, and you're gonna think God's shifting you again. You're gonna get married, and guess what? Your spouse is gonna get under your skin, and guess what? You're gonna think God's shifting you again. Stop. Do not let the enemy sift you. Stay the course and win this race, because you have what it takes. The Bible says, greater is he that's in you than he that's in this world. And man, I would love to see my Facebook friends and followers explode and accomplish more than the devil ever thought you would, because you said, you know what? He's right. I'm not being shifted. I'm being sifted. And the enemy wants to take everything that I have away from me. But I'm going to stay the course, and I'm going to fight the good fight, and I'm going to stand in the face of the giant and say, who is this uncircumcised Philistine that defiles the armies of God? That's all I got for you this morning, man. I was fired up about that one last night. Couldn't wait to get on. But hey, I love you guys. Praying for you. I pray you have a blessed weekend. I won't be on this weekend. Today's my Friday. I only work 4 days a week. So continue to study and love the Lord as hopefully you've always been doing. And I'll try to continue doing some devotions during the week. But we love you. God bless you.